Well, controlled images are effective in the way black people act because usually we are stereotypically depicted as either being overly smart or very stupid or aggressive. For example, the brother who's seen as smart is always seen as whitewashed or a sellout because he's educated. So because he's overeducated, he's not accepted by the African American community. So he's being told that he's being white. Or versus the gangster who is stupid, isn't really educated, and is seen as dangerous. Or
I feel like any portrayal of like black characters on TV or music or any sort of media is always exaggerated.
A black male should be like a football player, and a woman is like a sex object. A black
uneducated, ghetto, gangster,
criminals and
being very loud, obnoxious, sexual.
The media controls what we see and what we read, so it controls how we view the world. When you turn on the TV, what kind of representations of black males do you see? We watch shows like Cops, SWAT, and other crime documentaries that show more footage of black males being arrested than any other race. We commonly see them running from the police, being angry, hostile, and violent. On the movie screen, we typically see black male actors playing the characters of criminals, thugs, pimps, and drug dealers. In music videos, we see black male rappers glorifying the thug life by talking about drugs, crimes, prison life, child abandonment, prostitution, and early deaths. We have an image of the black male athlete that is respected for their performance on the field and on the court, but yet that same body that is admired and used to sell a variety of products is feared on the streets by people who pull their belongings a little closer when they walk by. In the book Black Sexual Politics, Patricia Hill Collins says, little mention is made of the fact that basketball and sports confine young black boys to achievements of the body and not of the mind. And keeping them mesmerized with sports heroes may actually weaken their ability to pursue other avenues to success. The media tells us to do something, people listen and do it. They take away images of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and replace them with images of 50 Cent, Ice Cube, and Tupac. People who dressed in baggy pants and bandanas. These are the heroes the media gives us. These are the role models young black men look up to.
The mammy is a term that was first mentioned in the 1810s. These women were seen as black servants who were unattractive, obese, and very religious. These women also portrayed the black maternal image in the white homes. These women were often seen in the films Gone with the Wind, Pinky, and The Birth of a Nation. Sapphire, also known as the angry black woman or the bitchy black woman. It's a historical term that could be seen in today's media, for example, in Tyler Perry's films Why Did I Get Married and Daddy's Little Girl. This woman is seen as a loud, rude, malicious, and masculine woman.
Jezebel is a Bible tale about a warrior and a queen who is a prostitute and hypersexual. The Jezebel is now described as a woman who has a demanding appetite for sex. In media, she is promoted as a justification for sexual relationships. Films such as Foxy Brown and Can I Touch You represent young black women who can't be taken seriously and unlovable. In the music industry, the image of the Jezebel is often seen and reflected on artists such as Rihanna and Beyonce, who commonly expose their body with sexual and revealing clothing and expressions.
These stereotypes about blacks, and specifically black males, are seen all throughout media. Countless newspaper headlines, news reports, and stories are put out every day exploiting the stereotype that black males are naturally violent creatures. Jan Pieterse explains in his book, White on Black, that Europeans in 1830 described the Negro as a representation of a natural man in all of his wild and untamed nature. There is nothing remotely humanized about him, and he will act violently without moral or character. This idea is still seen in media today. One article, Black on White Violence, Why It Matters, states that black violence is especially savage in character, and blacks will attack mercilessly. It goes on to say that even though blacks constitute a small minority in America, they comprise overwhelmingly the perpetrators of violent crime. But this is very untrue. In fact, a white person is 6 times more likely to be killed by another white person than by a black person, according to FBI homicide data. Then why this disbelief? Is it because the media obsesses on black violence and rarely mentions white violence? Media outlets such as Fox News and CNN make the phrase black on black violence easy to say, while white on white violence is strange and unheard of. Gang-related deaths are treated as an exclusively black problem. The stereotype of the savage is reinforced when white crime is described as a deviation of the individual, but black crime is attributed to the race, as if they are inherently born a violent person. The Justice Department collected data that proves that white men are more likely to kill than any other racial group. Why then does the author of the Black on White Violence article believe that blacks are overwhelmingly more the cause of violent crimes? In 2009, 39% of the prison population were black, compared to only 34% of them being white. 50% of those in federal prisons were there because of violent crimes. Now, someone who is given this data is likely to conclude that blacks are violent because of what is seen in these statistics. This is a false representation that is used and twisted by the media. Because of the war on drugs, many more people have been put in the prison system. Now, studies show that blacks are no more likely to sell drugs than whites. But where are they choosing to wage this war on drugs? Not white middle-class communities, but in poor communities of color. So now, the stereotype of the savage, or violent black man, is reinforced by another stereotype, the Sambo. They are lazy and don't contribute to society, so they are convicted of a minor, non-violent drug offense, sent to a prison, and then seen as violent because of the misleading statistics. Media can be selective and give a false impression, even if they're using statistically correct data.
How are black people expected to act?
From like through the media and everything, I think black people, they expect black people to act loud and like kind of disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's basically ignorant. They portray them as being ignorant, you know, non-intelligent, you know, very, how do I say, rebellish.
I think we're expected to act tough, aggressive, and independent, but also dependent on others.
According to Kwakiutl, Person-Lynn, in his reading Ivan Van Sertima, it doesn't matter how well documented or how well supported the new facts one presents about the African are. The old ideas are very hard to kind of just ignore. The Eurocentric African we've been focusing upon is one-sided and false. So how do we change that image that media keeps portraying? In this journal I read called The Influence of Exposure to Depictions of Race and Crime in TV News on Viewers' Social Judgments, consuming the persistent overrepresentation of black males in crime-related news stories strengthens the cognitive association of blacks and criminality. People might see a black person already have preconceptual ideas based upon what they've already seen in the media. According to this journal, the groups and categories to which one belongs to contributes to one's self-concept and self-definition by furnishing the normative beliefs and behaviors associated with the beliefs. If blacks are constantly shown in a negative light, then that affects their perception of themselves. Another thing that this journal covers is both theory and empirical evidence indicate that the media exposure contributes to the construction and perpetuation of these perceptions by disproportionately depicting racial and ethnic minorities as criminal suspects and whites as victims in the news. Blacks are nearly 4 times more likely to be represented as criminals than police officers on television news, a proportion inconsistent with the Department of Labor statistics. The average black African American is faced with the whims of media. The media often contains subliminal messages that can cause even interracial battles, like team dark skin, team light skin, the buff, the hyper masculine buff though, too buff, you know, and just styles like the baggy pants and just stuff like that. The media has helped to pull apart our collectiveness as a community, and these depictions of negative images of the black female and male has helped to lower our standards of how we view ourselves in today's society.
Today, people in the black community are more concerned with blacks being cast in mainstream television than they are with positive images. In the late 70s, there wasn't a lot of black mainstream television series, but Good Times was one of them. Unfortunately, this was American's sight on the black family, and it was the incorrect version. The show of Good Times showed how poor, struggling, and desperate the black family was, and they never succeeded. They never got anywhere. This depicted the black family. The black community cheered on Good Times, but never focused on the aspect of which it set forth in the American society, on how the black family is viewed, how black people are viewed. Nor did they realize that this would be an epiphany to American society, on how the status of black people would be in America. Today, we have shows such as Scandal and NCIS Los Angeles, which are led out by African American men and women, but still live up to the stereotypes of the sapphire and the noble savage. So how does this affect our black community? Media plays a huge role in the different aspects and ideals of the American society, in how they view things such as race. Through media, from the outside looking in, other races will believe that black women are loud, promiscuous, and constantly angry. And for black men, they're players, aggressive, and violent. According to Paul Ruffins on his article on higher education, he states, despite the gauntlet of challenges that they face, black men desire a tremendous respect for college, and they enroll at higher rates than white men. Within the African American community, athletes, the guys who get the girls, independent women, and intelligent people are who we look up to. So with the portrayal of media of the mammy, the Jezebel, the sapphire, the brute, and the noble savage, who are we looking up to? Lakecia Johnson, the author of the book Iconic, talks about the black women and how they continue to strive and fight against the status quo and American prejudices. This can be seen through the works of Angela Davis, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Michelle Obama, William K. Middleton, Robin Kelly, and Dr. Cornel West, as they stand on the shoulders of those who came before them. So the question is, who are you inspiring to be?
In today's society, the media presents black males in a negative light.
Black female stereotypes that have been used in previous years are still used today.
The media uses these stereotypes to give a false idea that blacks are violent in nature.
The media affects the way black people are supposed to act.
So again, we ask, who are you aspiring to be?